Today we're gonna build a digital vinyl record player. This is hands down one of the coolest looking projects I've ever done, and we're going to build it from scratch, meaning all electronics, all software, and all the mechanical design will be done in this video. We will encounter some problems that we will solve, but in the end, I promise you, it's going to be worth it. So this is basically the most complex music controller that I've ever seen. The thing is that I love having cool stuff and I love building even cooler stuff. So when I had a plain speaker that only plays music, I knew that I had to step up my game. And that's when I found vinyl record players. And these look nice, but were more usual in the older days. But the problem with these was that I didn't want a huge collection of this to dig through when I wanted to play some music. I want the speaker that I already have that sounds good, but I wanted the experience to be cooler. So I do want the vinyl record player, but only the positive features. And my speaker has decent sound, so I want a device to connect to it to output music. So now let's go through the requirements for this product. First of all, it must be able to connect to my Bluetooth speaker.
The Bluetooth device.
I also want to fast forward and rewind by rotating the disc. And then the screen in the middle should show the album art and always follow the disc rotation. I'm thinking that this will give the illusion that they are both rotating at the same time. And then I want a knob for volume control, and the stick thing should be able to pause and play the music. And this has a weird name, it's not called sticky thing, it's called tone arm. And then arguably the most important thing is that it should look clean and cool. Otherwise, what's the point? And to get the aesthetics right, I went to CAD and made the simple geometries and features that I wanted. I made the disc with some rounded features. The tone arm, I wanted it to be made out of metal, so I took some shafts and cut them down to the right length. And the knob should also be made out of metal. And then the enclosure should make it all look visually stunning. So to go a little bit into the technical, this device will have a Raspberry Pi and an ESP32 to control it. The Raspberry Pi will handle the graphical part, meaning the screens. It will also handle the music part, so it will get the music from Spotify and send it out to the Bluetooth speaker. And the song info will be shown on the two screens. And the ESP32 will handle the physical controls and some LEDs. And the physical controls have many components that I will show later. And these two devices have to be able to talk to each other. So let's buy the needed stuff and put the components and 3D printers to good use. So the eyes will be mainly drawn to the disc, so it had to look nice. And I was thinking that I could use the 3D printer's glass bed to get this shiny surface that I wanted. And I had to make rounded features in CAD, otherwise the 3D printer would make straight lines to fill in the surface. And I put a white layer in some places so that the LEDs that I'm going to add later can shine through. There's a slight engineering challenge here. There cannot be a solid shaft in the middle of this disc, because that's where the screen is going to go later on. So we have to take the cables into consideration. That's the reason I bought a motor with a hollow shaft. But still the hole was too small, and the cables couldn't possibly fit here. So trying to keep it simple, I came up with this. A gear set where one of them can have the motor attached to it and the other one can have a big hole in the center to allow the cables to go through. When that was done, we had another challenge.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no.
For the tone arm, I wanted a nice clicky feeling. For this, I tried out something that I haven't done before, to have magnets assist the movement. So I made a prototype to test it out. And it worked out pretty nice. So I think I will keep using magnets throughout this build. And after many hours in CAD, the modeling was done. And it was time to move to the electronics. I will use the Raspberry Pi 3B Plus for this project because I think a higher version would be overkill. And besides the music and Bluetooth, it will handle two screens. The first screen is a round 1.28 inch screen that would show the album art. And the other one is a 1.77 inch rectangular display. This one will show the typical pause and play buttons and some information about the song. And because both screens use the SPI communication, they will share the serial clock and serial data pins. And both of them together will use 9 data pins from the Raspberry Pi. So I start by wiring the screens up so I can test them later. The Raspberry Pi has 2 hardware chip select pins. And both the datasheets are telling me to use the GPIO 8, meaning the chip select 0. But since I have 2 screens and must use the chip select 1, I will configure it in software later on. And then we go on to the ESP32. I will use the ESP32C6 Mini, and here we have a bunch of components that need to be wired to this. So I just hope that there will be enough pins. So first up we have the mechanical encoder for the volume knob. For the rotation it has 3 pins, 1 for ground and 2 data pins. And when rotated, the data pins go high and low. And depending on the order of the signal, the system will know in which direction it is rotating in. And for the button we have 1 pin, and this gets connected to ground when the button is pressed. Next up we have the optical sensor. This has basically an LED in one side and a photo transistor on the other. And if the path is blocked, the signal will change. And we will use this for the tone arm to be able to play and pause the music. And then we have the LEDs. Here we will use the WS2812 LEDs that we have used before in a previous project. But this one is an SMD version, meaning the surface mounted one, and it will be in the form of a ring. And we will cut out the rings that we need. And to control the LEDs, we need 5 volt logic, and the ESP gives only 3.3 volts. For this we will use a quad level shifter. This can bump up the logic voltage to 5 for 4 different pins, but we will only use 1 pin. And lastly, we have the most complex and important one, the motor, motor driver, and the feedback loop. And to drive this motor, we will use a board containing the TMC6300 chip. This bad boy will give 5 volts to the motor and will be given PWM signals in 3.3 volt logic. And I also want to be able to play a DJ on this device, so I will add a magnetic encoder on this as well. This will sense the magnetic field and the orientation of it to be able to see if the spinning disc has been stopped or not. These will then all work together to drive the motor. So the TMC will control the motor, the ESP32 will control the TMC, and then they will all be checked by the magnetic encoder. So all the devices will use 13 pins, and the ESP32 that I use has 13 pins. It was meant to be. So let's start the fun and wire these up. So when there are so many components, it can easily get crowded on a small solderless breadboard. So I try to keep it nice and tidy, even if it's only for the test. And here the motor has to have a magnet on the shaft so that it can rotate with it. And then that magnet has to be above the magnetic encoder for it to be able to sense the magnetic field. When everything was assembled, it was time to go through the software. So this is slightly more difficult, so hold on to your hat and let's go through this quickly. The music will be played by a Bluetooth speaker, and it will come through Spotify. So the device has to appear as a Spotify client, and this can be done with Spotify D. And then Spotify D will communicate the song information to player control. And then this will be shown on the screen. This can be the album art, song name, artist name, among other things. When it comes to the ESP system, there are more components, but it's slightly more straightforward. So I won't repeat myself and bore you. The only important detail here is that there will be precise control over the motor. And then these two different systems will communicate with each other through UART and pass only the necessary information. We start by flashing the OS into an SD card. It's important to do this in headless mode so we don't take up any resources that we won't need. So no desktop environment. So we will only SSH into the Pi and use the terminal. After that, we power the Pi. We SSH into it and start downloading some packages. I downloaded some Python and Bluetooth packages, and to see if everything was working correctly, I ran this sound test. Now we set up the Raspberry Pi as a Spotify client. The Spotify D GitHub repo does exactly this. So I get the CPU architecture from the Pi and then go back to the GitHub repo and get the corresponding link. I download and set it up. And now comes the time to try out Spotify. But I can't play the music out loud in YouTube without getting copy striked. I will switch out the music to some licensed background music, and you will trust that I'm not lying.
Trust me.
But the exciting news is that I now can see the device pop up on Spotify, and it works perfectly. I now can get all the info I need. The status, the title, the artist's name, the album art URL, everything I need is now accessible. This info can now be displayed on the screens. The Raspberry Pi detects the screens. I run a test demo on the round screen and see that it runs nicely. So then I just go on to writing the program. And I'm not a UX designer, but I make it look as good as I can. And for the round screen, I made a program that will store the album art in the cache and display it when needed. And to keep these rotations smooth, I had to cache all the different orientations and then display them at the needed time. And with the Raspberry Pi working, all that was left was the ESP32 system. So I connected up. I tried a Blinky program and switched the LED to the external one and saw that it was working. And to keep it short, I got the motor spinning, then I got the optical sensor to control the motor. And the mechanical encoder was working with the LED. And it was also sending out UART messages that will later be received by the Raspberry Pi. So let's connect them up together and try it out. The Pi detects the device and they can now pass info to each other. But then I noticed something. It was some heat radiating from the Pi. I checked the temperature and saw that it was climbing. I checked the system throttling flags and I see the message. It is a soft temperature limit. The first 8 is that it's been activated and the second one is that it's still active. So this problem has to be dealt with, because when the device goes inside an enclosure, it would get even hotter. So I could install a fan, but there's limited space, I don't want the noise, and there isn't a path for the airflow. But there's also heat sinks. These increase the surface area and can dissipate more heat through convection. And I think there's a right way to orient these so that the heat can rise. So I quickly look it up in the natural convection chapter and I see that it does make a difference. I will go with the heat sinks. So I go on with the build. Everything is now ready. First I prep the round screen and take away the pins so it doesn't interfere with the disk. And then I go on to soldering the ESP system. When that's done, I recheck everything and move on. I very carefully cut out the LED rings that I need without damaging them. I fixed the last parts and now I can move on. So let's get started on assembling the whole thing. So I start with the Raspberry Pi and screw it down. Then comes the magnetic encoder and the motor above it. I designed these so that one set of screws hold down both components here. The wire management is very important here so that it doesn't become a mess at the end. So I tried to guide them through an optimal path. Then I got started on the tone arm holder. I put in some thrust bearings, screwed it in place, and then glued on some magnets. I brought in the ESP32 system and connected the existing wires to it. Then I bring in the rectangular display. Then I connect both screens to the Raspberry Pi. And I admit, the wiring here got a bit messy and I had to put in some time to fix it. Although a bit late, I remembered that I had to install the heat sinks as well. I went with 2, cause why not? And instead of powering it to a USB, I chose to cut it up and use the 5-volt pins instead. And this is due to the space limitation. Then I connected the encoder to the ESP32. I installed the power switch. Then I connected up the LED rings to the ESP system. Next up was the USB cable between the ESP and the Raspberry Pi. And this one I had to squeeze in. And yes, I see that the cable management has become chaotic. Eventually I create proper custom PCBs and CAD files. If you want to get notified, join my email list. For the last step, I check every connection and try to find if I made some mistakes somewhere. I also glue on some magnets for the lid for easy access later on. I assemble the last parts and now we can power on this beautiful device. The channel logo pops up and this device looks so much better than I could have expected. The disc backlight worked exactly like I wanted it to. The countless hours that I put onto this project, after seeing this, it was all worth it. So let's go through all the features. By turning the tone arm, you can play and pause the music when you want. And by spinning the disc, you can skip and rewind the music. And of course, the image will rotate and the rectangular screen will also refresh the timestamp. And this doesn't have to be in a paused state. It can also be done in the middle of a song. Now let's put on some music. I turn on my speaker and it connects automatically. The device has also popped up in the Spotify app. Now I can just choose the wanted song and press play. From here on out, everything can be controlled with the device. A short press will skip a song. Pressing 2 times quick will go to the previous song. And by holding the knob, I can change from LED color control to volume control. Now let's go mount it on my wall of devices. I choose a spot and pre-drill some holes, and now it's up and running. Another device added to my collection. And I have plans to build a lot more devices, so if you have any ideas on what I should build next, leave it in the comment section and I will check it out. I really enjoyed this project and I love how it turned out. And if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and leaving a like. See you in the next one.